Hey everybody, it's Thursday.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And we're glad that we made it here tonight.
Yeah.
It has felt like a long week, and so we are glad that tomorrow is Friday. With that, I'm always excited for the weekend and fishing, but I don't know what that's going to look like for us this week. So let's start with last week, where I was gonna say where'd we leave off, but we were actually at an expo. So actually, we weren't even on ice or on water.
No, we weren't. We got to hang out with a bunch of our friends from the show side of things. Met some new friends. That was fun. And yeah, I guess we could talk about a few of the things that we saw because we saw some new stuff. And but yeah, ice is going fast, but some of the lakes, at least by us, are holding up pretty good. I was out yesterday, and it was still pretty decent. Drove by those same lakes today, still pretty decent. So, if you got North Shore access, you should be, or South Shore access, you should be doing pretty good. The north sides might be getting a little wet, but we'll see by this weekend.
And some places are totally open. They are back to water. So I know a lot of these places are south or especially the river systems. But actually I am seeing lately quite a few walleyes being caught. So I feel like it's earlier than I expected. I feel like I should still get on ice, get out on ice from our weekend, but I guess we'll see what the weekend brings.
Yeah, I was just looking at landing reports. Sounds like Oshkosh, most of the landings down there are open up. They're catching walleyes. So that sounds good. The Red Banks Resort, if you don't like them, you should on Facebook because they do a really good job at posting a video update at least once a week.
But don't go fish there. It's terrible fishing.
But they post the reports over there, and so that's really nice. I like to follow them. As always, our friend over at Fremont Bait and Tackle, he moved his location, but he's still doing the spring run this year, and he
Did you hear where he's at?
Yeah, he's just up County H at the Angler Bar and Grill, so it's not even very far from where he was. He'll be set up in a tent doing minnows and stuff for run, and hopefully from there we'll figure out where he's going, but he always has a bunch of great information too.
That is always true. It's always great to go there for good bait, but it's also good information and good people. So I am actually looking forward to that for walleye season.
Mm-hmm.
But that is kind of a fun segue into the show that we were at this past weekend because it is kind of more of an open water show than ice. And I guess with that, I don't really think it was very much of a nice show at all. I guess it was mostly open water. But that's something we get to go to the ice shows all the time. And so some of this open water stuff is a little bit new to us and some of it has amazing crossover. So I guess, what do you remember most from the expo?
Well, one thing, I don't know. I mean, you touched on the crossover. There's one thing in my mind that kind of sticks out and that I've been, thinking about quite a bit this week is, with open water, you got to start thinking about dealing with weeds on your trailer. And, the one thing that we saw down there that really caught my eye and got me a little bit excited was a product called Aqua Weed Stick. It's a little twist-on accessory for like any broom handle or your net, like our Ego net. And it's shaped in a way that you can be able to hook and cut weeds, or you can scrape the duckweed off your bunks. Just going to be a really handy thing. We picked one up, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about that actually. Out of everything there, I'm excited about a little weed getter, but that's my thing. So,
well, it was a little bit exciting because the person that we heard about it from was Jeremy Amfinson. So shout out to him because he's always a lot of fun, and he made it really exciting. So we wanted to go over there and check it out.
I can actually post that website in the comments. Give me a second here.
But the other reason that it was easy to be excited about the booth they had there is because they're also setting up these, stations, I guess, and they can be funded by, especially in Wisconsin, different lake associations and all of that. But they have just these nice little stations that can help anglers clean off their trailer, clean off their boats, collect some garbage, all that kind of stuff. Because I know sometimes, that's hard for people to do. So if there's a station there and a way to do that, then that makes that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think it'll be a fun thing to get to use this year for sure.
Well, and I was going to say, I can't remember that girl's name, but I actually have a business card here. Yeah. Go shout out to Michaela because she's pretty awesome.
She is pretty awesome.
Other things from the expo besides that, I guess what's the next thing that you think of?
Well, it's your turn.
The next thing that I think of is something that I would not use. So we actually saw an enclosed boat trailer.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I don't know if that's as new to everybody as it was to me, but it was really awesome because I don't know, it was a little bit different. So, if you are doing a lot of traveling, if you were in the MLF, if you do tournaments, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who would actually want an enclosed boat trailer. Maybe this early season, especially when people are trying to get out onto these waterways that are open, but then they're still driving on these roads with salt and everything. But gosh, they were all decked out. And there was kind of a front cabin to them that had all kinds of cabinets and shelf space and countertops to tie stuff on and organize your stuff. And but let me tell you what, as far as a boat trailer, this is not short. It was like how long do you think that thing was?
Honestly, I only walked by it. I didn't even know about the cabinets or any of that. So all of this is new to me. So somebody was not working the booth very much.
I walked around. I saw it. The girls' bathroom was way far away compared to everything else. So I had to walk through like half the expo just to get there. But as far as this boat trailer, I don't know, maybe it was like, 22, 24 feet. I feel like I'm estimating terribly. It was like, it looked so long to me. But the thing is, can you imagine backing up an enclosed trailer like to your favorite lake and like dipping it in to launch the boat? It's just kind of crazy. There was rollers in there, so I imagine it slides up and down like pretty easy, but I'm just not sure. I think that there's a very specific buyer for that.
Well, before we get too far, for those of you tuning in now, just let us know how you're doing fishing, what you're doing, what you're up to, because we're in the summer ice and some are open water part of the season right now. So just put it in there. But yeah, as it says in the description, if you took the time to read that, we are going to do a little bit of a giveaway running this week. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, just want to get that out there first.
And I am interested in who's on ice and who's on open water, because for open water, that's a fun trend to watch as it, continues north as the season will happen. But I'm also interested if you're on ice, because maybe we'll come visit you this weekend. I'm kidding, but it would be great to know. I mean, maybe we even still have some local ice by us. You were saying that you were out this week. So again, it is back to that season though, where you got to be prepared when you go out if you're still on ice. So one of the big things that people forget is your spikes, your cleats, because if you are on ice and it is slippery out there, and sometimes it just gets a little bit soft and slushy, and then you can make it pretty okay. But otherwise, you are going to want to make sure that if there's water on top of that ice, that you are not floating all over the place like that. And Mark is making a really great point. Still using the short rods, crappies and gills are on fire. And I think that's part of the reason that I like sticking with ice season. There is a great bite if you can get on it.
Yeah, panfish this time of year is really fun, and there's plenty of time to go catch some walleyes. So we'll let everybody else get their boat trailering and walleye catching in before us, and we'll go sneak out on some lakes and find some panfish.
Well, and part of that, is all of that water that is melting and getting back into those waterways, getting that oxygen going and just generally warming up. I think the fish know that spring is coming. But I think also, check around in nature, because everything else seems to be migrating back north. And that's the trend. Open water's here. So I guess.
Hey, Chad.
What's next?
Oh, what's next? Well, do you want to talk about our next adventure? That's coming up quick.
Yeah.
Or we can save that for next week.
No, you can bring that up. We're still planning, so it's like I'm like still at hopefully and not definitely. But I guess there's even other things to talk about from the expo too.
Sure.
But that doesn't, now I'm already on this. Part of what made me think about that though, I'm crossed between two subjects, because at the expo we ran into actually one of our other favorite booths is Aqua.
They have some good stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. New stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we were there talking a while, and found out actually from them that they are going to, is it called the Bass Pro Shops World's Fair?
Bass Pro Shops Fishing's World Fair.
Fishing World Fair.
5-day event. There's going to be all kinds of country music concerts all week. There's everybody, all the pros that you see, Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance,
Kevin Van Dam was on the poster.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them
Yeah.
there. Everybody's going to be there. I mean, that's the thing about it is, when you have a big event, and I want to call it south because it's south for us, but I know Missouri's like,
Missouri.
I
South.
guess it's getting south, but it is kind of a central location for a lot of these people who are fishing and all of that. So I do know it's going to be a hub, and they are advertising it as the largest fishing fair that has ever happened. I went to their website. Well, it was kind of hard to find information actually. But they're showing all these tents and things will be set up everywhere. And with that, Aqua might be there. So we are actually interested in possibly being there with them as well.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll the invite's extended. We're just working on our schedule to make it happen. And
a 10-hour road trip is far when you got to work also.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. But if there is anybody from that part of the country, shout out to us because we might be interested in seeing you while we're down there. Bump into us at the expo.
For sure.
Or if you were at last year's, tell us about that because I heard that was awesome as well.
Oh yeah? I didn't hear anything about last year's.
Yeah, they have a few videos.
That's fun.
Yeah, I was checking them out. I just got excited. Gotta try to plan a little bit,
Right.
But I think the fun thing about being at places like that is the people that you run into. And just like this past weekend, we got to run into Doug from Smackdown Outdoors.
Yeah. Shout out to our buddy Doug. He was doing some good picturing and videoing of all the cool stuff over at the show and looking at boats. So maybe he's getting a boat. I don't know.
That would be kind of cool. But yeah, lots of good stuff that was there. And like Josh was saying, there is some new fun stuff coming out from Aqua. So if we cannot bring that to you at that expo, then we will be bringing that to you coming up here because that is one of my favorite tools. Speaking of things that crosses over from ice to open water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So for open water, I guess with Aqua, I do put a bunch of weights on it, but I'm thinking walleyes. I'm thinking, I don't know. It's that time of season.
Yeah. People are getting out on the river. The thing about this time of season is that you like myself, especially, I like to do some snap jigging and, you either are fishing a reaction bite this time of year or you're fishing super slow. So you have to remember to slow your stuff down, or I know a lot of guys are having some decent luck on the blade baits, and that's almost purely a reaction bite, and they feel the vibration, they're hitting it. So, when you're out there, just remember as antsy as you are to start jigging, just remember slow is probably better this time of year, and stinger hooks are almost a must.
That's true. And I think one of the things that, because I'm kind of still learning about walleyes. I don't know, we do okay, but you always got to learn, right? And last year, one of my big focuses on was, looking for the places when walleyes are going upstream like that, they look for kind of that path of least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I've really been focusing on because sometimes you see people hit the river and they're just casting or jigging or trolling or pulling or whatever all over the place. And it's for maybe no rhyme or reason. And so to really, start to target where those fish actually might be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny because we, a few years prior had been fishing and everything, and we've had some low water years. And so we've really gotten to take the time to look at, the different brush or the tree piles or the things that are falling off the shore and into those waterways. And I know it's a lot to remember, but, pick certain spots in your mind and start to remember where those, down trees or different things are, rock piles, or even go opposite. Hey, I know last year we used to catch tons of fish every time we came over the spot. Turns out that there's a tree there. It's not that we were snagging the tree, but that the fish were hiding, from that current along with that tree line. So when you can identify those different features, that's something that's really going to help you going into the spring.
Yeah. And just besides the whole fishing aspect of it, we're all shaking off kind of our winter walking around on the ice kind of pattern, and we're getting in our boats. And so all of us, myself included, and Emily included, we, are a little rusty at driving the boat probably. So just get back in tune with your trolling motor and your boat control, because this time of year that, even especially on the river, it's important. And so, even if you're not having a good day fishing, maybe it's just a good time just to enjoy being out there and getting your feet under your sea legs back.
Well, and in the river system, I think that's a great time to explore because, I mean, with the run, that's a little bit different. You might have fish flowing through the system kind of at different rates, but especially if you're targeting, specific species, maybe you're looking for panfish, just because they're not in one area doesn't mean that they're not somewhere else. And who were we just recently talking to on Tuesday? Sharon Brown,
Oh.
actually. He brought this up. He is a bass fisher over on the East Coast, but he made the connection to seeing swans.
Yeah.
And so not just, the swans, they migrated back. Hey, they're in the area. But he even noticed even specific patterns of what these swans were doing at those times. But even more so than that, he would find, especially on the river systems, that as he would go to, the different backwater spots or slack areas or places that he fishes, if he would go and the swans were not there, the fish were not biting either, and it just sounds so silly and so simple, but you start to make that whole connection of what's going on in the systems. The swans are looking for, in this case, he said it was the grass. So whether they're eating the grass or what's in the grass, but the grass is only going to grow in a place where maybe the water's warm enough or oxygenated enough or whatever that may be. And so it's not just that the fish are with the swans or vice versa. But once you start to notice all of those other connections, those are things that can help you really be a good angler.
Yeah, you should really check out Sharon's stuff. He's a wealth of knowledge. SKB Fishing. He does some really cool stuff. And he's right. That's something in my my career path. We call that in our field phenology. If anybody's familiar with that word, that's the study of when and how things happen on an annual basis. And so when you can start to put those patterns together, like for us, a big one around here is when the lilacs start blooming, the white bass are running. And it's a general, rule of thumb, but that's, it has to do with water temp, and it just happens to coincide with that lilac bloom most of the time. So, just noticing things like that can really, it doesn't seem like it would help you in fishing, but, it really does, being aware of your surroundings.
Well, and navigating those different waterways, you never know what you're going to stumble upon. So, like I was saying before, if you are out with your graph, it doesn't have to be a visual thing. It could be, hey, you mark a rock pile. Hey, you mark some down trees or whatever it is. The other thing is, especially in spring and especially in the river systems, watch what the other boaters are doing, because you never know when those log jams and stuff move around. And so like last year, we all knew where those like hidden little spots to avoid where they were. But you never know when something is shifted. And that's a terrible thing to have to find out on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that though, it's also worth, as you're going along, checking out those other landings, because like Josh was saying, especially when we are rusty going to the year with that loading, unloading, whatever, if you can find a ramp that's maybe closer to home or maybe less used or better parking, those can all be really fabulous things to take you into the season.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I like to carry with me, and something that I was kind of brought into by our buddy Jason Hyman. He carries a charge pack for starting a car. They're pretty inexpensive on Amazon. They'll jump start a car. It's just a little battery pack, but that's something that you might want to, if you have one, then pack it with you, especially this time of season. Or if you don't have one, might want to look into it, just because, you never know, like if your battery is going to go bad, or, you might run across somebody that just is stranded, and it's nice to have that there. And it's super small and portable, and just little things like that, especially to start the season out.
Well, it's kind of funny talking about all these things because, quite frankly, our boat is not even out of storage yet. Because, like I said, I am hoping we on ice one more time. But I mean, that's the game that we play. This time of the season is, even tomorrow there might be enough sun and the shore melts just enough that we can't get there, and then we do take the boat out. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Yep. All right.
I guess with that, I am interested in switching my tackle over. That's always a great thing to be doing mid-season because some of it I do take from one tackle box to the other, but some I do not. And actually, you've been doing some fun things, tying up some new stuff. So I don't know if you want to talk about that yet or not.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So, I like to do a little bit of tackle craft as we have transition here. So like, we have a little walleye jigs here, and I poured some up in 1/2, 3/8, and 1/4 ounce sizes. I have the little orange guy here with some stripes. I did the pink perch pattern. I really like this one that carries over from crappies, but walleyes like that too. And then I got the good old favorite, the purple and yellow. That seems to work really well. And we did just talk to our buddy Isaac, and he I have one more. And the white one. Who doesn't like the white and red? And the head actually glows on that one. So but yeah, we were just talking to our buddy Isaac, and being pan fishers, we tend to go to chartreuse and pink and yellows and just bright, flashy stuff, just because the crappies and bluegills tend to be a little bit more curious. But he fishes a lot more of the natural colors, the blacks, blues, purples. And that's something that I'm going to try and work on this summer. Maybe working with a little bit more of a silhouette bite instead of the.
Can you see the eyeball on that? You can't even see that at home. That's like half of the best part of this thing is like, it gets worse as I get closer. Oh yeah, look at that eyeball though. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I guess, you got the eyeballs.
But these are pretty fun to make because especially once you kind of have an idea of what you're working on, it's really fun to kind of compare to what other people make in bait shops or even what you see just sold off the store rack, because sometimes it's hard to like find your favorite color or the right amount of hair or something. And then when you make your own, that's a cool thing that you get to customize. You use good powder paint, they don't ship, right?
But so I just figured I'd tie some extra ones while I was at it, and I got one of each size in one of each of the colors. So we have 4 colors: the white, the pink, the green, and the purple. And I have one of each size in 1/2, 3/8, and 1/4. And I'm going to give that away as a whole kit, just as a thank you to you guys. And we were trying to discuss on how we were going to kind of do this. And I think the easiest way, why don't you just kind of go give our YouTube a like, and then come back here and just comment done in the thing, and then next in the chat, yeah. Just coming after you go like the YouTube channel, just comment done in the comment section, and we'll do a random pick next Thursday. We can do it on the live. I think that should be easy. We'll do it right at the beginning of the show next Thursday. So 1 week from today, we'll give you this whole. Let's see if we can get it all in the shot.
All these? No, I was gonna hold up like one of each color.
All these. So we'll give away all of those to somebody, and hopefully they can help catch some walleyes this year.
Or something. Who knows? Last year, would you catch like a huge sucker?
Carp.
Oh yeah, carp. Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. You never know what's gonna bite, but when you have a good bait, something that's gonna attract the fish, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I will say about the hair jigs, and even just a jig and a minnow, I find that when you use your singer hooks, it's better just to let them just free hang there, just because they tend to be the lightest part of the bait. And so when a fish goes up to suck it in, then that hook tends to be the first thing to go in their mouth. So even if they miss your bait, that hook tends to get caught in their mouth. And if you hook it to your bait, then it doesn't have that chance to get sucked in. So, just a little tip. It's helped me in the past, and hopefully it'll help somebody else. But yeah.
Well, I should have brought this. I didn't know I was going to want to talk about it. I can't believe we don't have one around. As far as you're talking about stinger hooks, how do you keep your stinger hooks? Because that's a really great method.
I keep my stinger hooks in one of the Lakewood cases.
You're looking for one because we're both looking. There's got to be one like right around here. There always is. That's the thing.
I might have one on the table.
Yeah, go grab it.
All right.
It's worth grabbing it though, because, you know, stinger hooks can be really a pain to store, especially if you're bringing them like, you know, pre-rigged up, or if you buy them, I guess. But Lakewood has a lure wallet, is I think what they call it, and there's actually 3 sizes. So whatever you're doing, you know, there's a perfect size for that. But we tend to use just the smallest one. We tend to advertise it for like, oh, ice season fits in your pocket of your bibs. That's cool. But also it fits perfectly in like my tackle boxes and stuff. So I know a lot of times like the portability is something that's huge with me because I can only carry so many things. But when you have that lure wallet and all of those different stinger hooks fit on in there, oh, I hear him coming back. I almost don't want to like ruin the surprise. He's like on his way. Yeah, there is. This even a stinger hook one?
Yep.
So let's do it that way. Lakewood lure wallet. Like I said, they're small enough to fit in your bib pocket. But even better than that. Oh, you could barely see. There you go. That you can see. And so all these little stinger hooks are just pre-made and tagged right into, oh, there you go, in that middle pocket. But the other thing that's even really nice about this is if you're using them, you're out in the boat that day, the whole middle just comes out. I'm showing you behind the other screen. So you can also put your stinger hooks here, and if you don't like them like clanking around, then there's like a space in the middle, because even that little skinny foam there is definitely enough to put those stinger hooks in. But otherwise, like this is really perfect just to kind of have out and around the boat. Or if you have like carpet, you could even like stick it to your carpet and have it, you know, really easy just to even switch hooks out.
Yeah. Maybe we'll send some stinger hooks with the thing. Who knows what we'll send with the giveaway and stuff. But yeah.
But that is a really fun thing, because when we talk about, you know, those jigs, but the stinger hooks do make a huge difference. And so when you have a nice way to carry them, that's just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, Hero Fishing. I think you showed that on the screen, but I'm just now reading it. Also good for dropper chains. That's a really good point. That's a really good point, actually, because the other thing that I forget to do, especially like closer to fall or midsummer, is using some of my spoons like in open water. And I think especially the dropper chains in some of those situations help make that presentation big, or you can, you know, put different plastics on. I don't know. That's a really great idea. I should bring those out in the boat this year.
Yeah.
I always say I should do it, and I just never do it.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I guess you did use a few more spoons this past winter, and you did pretty okay.
Yeah, I was doing okay.
Yeah. So with that, you know, let us know where you guys are at in your open water or ice season and how that's going for you, because I don't know, I'm interested. There's a lot of walleyes being caught places, and you know, I think a lot of times, let's talk about this quick. Bait choice. I think people get really caught up on that, insisting that only this will work or only that'll work. Do you have an opinion on bait choice early spring?
I like the shiners, emerald shiners. Those are one of my go-tos. But also, you know, the worms, just worms. You know, even if you're tipping your hair jigs or just a jig, you know, worms, and making sure that it's not too big. You know, it only needs to be a chunk like that big, like the fat part down to the collar. Pinch the rest off.
I just always want to put like a huge long worm with like a giant wiggle tail. That's my problem. Or sometimes that's what works.
Sometimes.
Actually, remember the time that we couldn't get a bite, and then I used a worm and a leech. But it worked. That was ridiculous.
That was funny.
But, you know, I just bring that up because so often you hear people say you can only use minnows, like only minnows will work. And maybe that's true for those people or how they're fishing or whatever. But again, it's one of those situations you got to think of those conditions. So one of the things that's happening in spring is a lot of times the water level is coming up. And when that water level rises, it floods out a bunch of that ground. And that is where those worms are coming from. So some of them just kind of seep right up out of the ground. And it's in that nice, warm, shallow water where fish kind of want to be. But some of those worms do really float downstream and all of that. And so, I mean, fish are seeing that as a natural source of bait. Even starting now, our ground is definitely thawed enough, I'd say.
The ground is still a little bit frozen, but depending on what banks you got and stuff like that, the like Jay's saying here, the current helps a lot, and with a little bit of this melt and stuff, that's surely the case. It looks like the walleyes are starting to bite a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, you don't forgo the plastics either this time of year. You just have to tune it to what you're fishing. You can't necessarily just be like, oh, well, I have this one paddle tail bait that I always catch walleyes on, and then go try it, and then it's like, well, it doesn't work. Then it does. You could have a similar bait and then have something like a fluke tail on it, or have something like a subtle curly tail on it, and it might work a little bit better because it's just a little bit more subtle of a movement than the paddle tail, but just experiment with the plastics, because they definitely do work this time of year, as long as you can dial in the right one.
If minnows work, plastics will work. But in this situation, because here's the other theory, is that the other thing that's happening in the river system is, especially with all the current and the ice out and all of that, the rivers tend to be a little bit darker, a little bit muddier, have more floaty things generally, in that early season, or even, after storms and stuff, because that stuff all floats down that river. So when you are out there and you're fishing, one of those big keys is, being natural enough to get that bite, or eye catching enough to get that bite. But I think that's the point, is that they have to be able to see it. Because if you are there on a day where the water is really murky, really dark, then I mean, sometimes maybe that's why a minnow works. Maybe do they smell it? Do they see it? I mean, I don't know, but any of those attractors that you could use at that point are probably going to be in your benefit.
Yeah, it could be. One of my buddies from college here, he's got the plastics. We did a lot of walleye fishing on the Red River on the west side of Minnesota. So, yep, we used a lot of white jig heads and white twister tails, and that was definitely a fun time. Yeah.
Jay's comments, swim baits are great at this time. Longer baits, brighter colors. Also, a really great point is don't underestimate your bait size, I guess. Sometimes people also get caught up in that mindset of like, oh, it's spring, so all the minnows are like this big, so I'm going to fish with like small things. But again, sometimes when those fish are moving and they're just going to strike, you can get that bite. That's awesome.
Yeah, and our buddy Brett McComas, he has some really good tips on spring bites. They're really not super long videos, but he talks about hair jigs. He talks about playing with plastics during the spring. Just some really good information that he's accumulated through his fishing adventures. And one of them that I kind of picked up on was using a heavy jig and a big, huge, like rip and shad type paddle tail. And he doesn't snap jig it. He's literally just he takes and stretches the tail out to give it a little bit of give, and then he just drags it along the bottom. And so on those flats where you got, you come out of a curve and then you have the flats, those walleyes, especially when they're going up, they'll sit behind what he calls sand dunes. And so there's little peaks and valleys in those sand flats, and those walleyes will sit in those little valleys. And if you're dragging one of those big baits, and the tail is just going like this, and it's nose down, so the sand is kind of puffing up behind it, those walleyes might just go and pick that up. So it's something that I'm going to try this year for sure.
For sure.
Sometimes I can make her speechless.
Well, I mean, that is the thing, is it is always kind of funny when we try something different in our boat, because, well, I guess we are always trying things that are different from each other. So, I mean, let me know how it works. I guess that's like what I want to say, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm thinking about though is, we've talked all about walleyes. Where are the panfish in the river this time of year?
Panfish in the river. Most of the panfish are going to be pushed either up into the near us, anyways. As the water goes up, the panfish also go up, and they find those little slack pockets in the middle of the woods, all the floodplains, or they're getting pushed down into the lake. And so, you just have to, yep, Jay's saying shallow bays, yep. And it's a tough time of year to fish them just because there is so much transition with them on the river. But you can find some good fishing. And then, I look forward to this later spring bite myself when the water kind of comes down and they kind of get pushed back into the main little bodies of water, and they're getting ready for their spawn. And I really like to just go in and check out all the little spots, and then as soon as they're done, they're spawning again, I try and leave them alone. That's just me. We'll go find something else to do usually, or find a different bite to go on.
But this early season, no matter where you're at, as long as you have open water, the name of the game is finding warm water.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is a lake, maybe there is a little stream inlet, or maybe that's where the cold water is. I don't know. Yes, I don't know. But especially on the river, those backwater spots are leading into those shallower bays or things like that. But like you said, I always like to come back kind of after that spawn then, because, the bite is on. They are still very much hungry. But if you can kind of keep on track from where they were, because in the shallow, we can see them. Like, they're there. We know where they're at. It's cool. And so if you are looking to fish different bodies of water, things like that, that is the time of year to get on them and track them. Because once you know where they're at in spring, then you can follow them to those next locations and kind of throughout that season. It doesn't lend very well to fishing lots of bodies of water, but hopefully you get lots of fishing time on that body of water, and then you can learn something from that.
Yeah, this time of year, especially when you can eke out the little last pieces of ice on the lakes, it's a good time to throw down a pin with a date. Doesn't even what I like to do is a date and the species of fish. And then I can come when it does open up with the boat. That's a good spot to just go over with the boat. Even if you don't fish there, they're going to be very close to there, because this time of year, especially in lake systems, those fish are staging to their pre-spawn, right? So they're coming up out of the traditional holes and they're staging up in the kind of the middle area. And then, you can follow them up into their pre-spawn. And then once they get up shallow, they're doing their thing, then I go find something else to do, and then I come back when they're hungry, and they're not defending stuff, but they're hungry, they're post spawn, and that's a fun time to fish. So that's my favorite time to fish, and usually when we go on vacation.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't know. Last year on vacation, the spring was a little bit crazy last year, but
crazy.
I guess I don't know what to expect from any spring, right? But I think, especially with an early trip like that, we did a great job finding fish last year, and it was a little bit different than where we found them in years past. So that's always fun to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
In case there's anybody who is just kind of joining us, we were talking walleyes, we were talking hair jigs, and we were talking all these awesome things that Josh has been tying up. So just a few of the colors, because I know that there's a whole bunch here. But again, we are doing a giveaway for anybody who goes and likes and follows our YouTube, and then just come on back here, comment done. Next week, Thursday, we're going to draw a winner, or pull a winner, or pick a winner, however that goes. Yeah. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But that's going to be really great because so much of our content goes out there on YouTube, and it's great to be able to join you there as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, what else did you want to talk about tonight?
I don't know. I'm honestly I wish I had more fishing stuff to talk about. We just haven't been out that much, with traveling and shows, and I have Monday off. Maybe I'll go fishing. We'll see.
Monday off. It's random. I'm like just now finding out about this, and you're like watching me in real time be jealous that I don't have Monday off and get to go fishing. But I mean, I think as the year goes on, we'll get better and better opportunities, and that weather will warm up more and more. I do love my striker gear, but you got me a heated vest, so I'm looking to, I don't know. We did some night fishing one year, and that'll keep me cozy for that for sure.
Yeah, the post spawn bite up north, that's pretty fun to troll around at night and not a whole bunch of boats and just snag some walleyes. Not snag, but bite they're pretty hungry and pulling big cranks, something we only do like a handful of times a year. So
Eric is saying that the Fox is open down Miami and that he's off Monday too. It sounds like Josh has plans now.
Well, there we go, Eric.
Sounds like I'm sick. No, I'm kidding. Awesome. So, with that, we just kind of came on to chat some fishing tonight, this season as it changes and all of that. If you guys know of fun events that are going on or anything coming up, let us know about those things because we love to hear about that and share that out as well. I know that in ice season, I did a lot of fish donkey tournaments, so I'm secretly looking forward to maybe trying some in open water this year. That's funny. I almost glanced at the comment first, or I glanced really quick before, and I thought it said something about fish tacos. Fish nitas. Now I get it. Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't go on Monday. I really got to be at work. But let us know how the season is going for you and all of that, and
yeah,
I don't know.
Like and share the YouTube again. Get some, maybe win a pack of hair jigs. And, share this out. Let's get that YouTube channel up there and let's get these hair jigs to somebody.
Awesome. With that, we're looking forward to seeing you on YouTube or on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.